Hello Internet, and welcome to a new tutorial. Okay, the intro. This part of the track you need to nail in order to catch the attention of the listener, whether the listener is a fellow producer, a DJ, or just a fan who enjoys your music. And at the same time, you need to keep it as minimalistic as possible in order to keep it DJ friendly and also to ensure a proper progression, meaning not to use all of your elements at once and create just a huge mess. So we're looking at creating a sequence that has the bare minimum of elements possible, yet extremely catchy. How to do it? Well, I have these 3 main steps that I want to share with you today in order to create a proper intro. But before we dive into this tutorial, if you'd like to support the channel, you can consider becoming one of my patrons, buy my presets on Gumroad, or just leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Things like that helps the channel a lot. Now with that said, let's dive into this tutorial. Okay, so here we are in Bitwig, and this is the project that we've started together in the arrangement and sequencing tutorial. I'll leave a link to that here. And we've created in that tutorial this main idea. In a later live stream, I've expanded on this idea and actually started sequencing it, started laying some ideas here and there for kind of like an introduction part. I'll leave a link to that live stream right in here. And today we're going to create its proper intro. So the first step in creating an intro is finding the right atmospheres. These atmospheres will lay down the main mood of the track. The track will start from there. So I like to think of it as having 3 atmospheres. The first one will lay down the main mood, basically, of the whole intro. And in the case of this track, I chose a preset from my second Pigments preset pack, the preset called Evolving Darkness, and it sounds like this. Okay, so that's our main mood, and it's pretty dark. Now I need a top layer, something that has some higher frequencies on top of it, just like to complement it. And I like to go really creative with this. And in this example, I actually took a recording of me walking in the forest that sounds like this. Nothing too special. And what I did in here, I went to the warping algorithms of Bitwig and I chose the cyclic one. I've set the formant to -12 and I've pitched the sample by 12 semitones, and now we have this. I've added an EQ with a high pass in here just to get rid of these nasty lower frequencies. I've added a peak limiter just to keep everything at the same level. And I've added an effect track in here to spice things up from sound toys. You know how much I love sound toys. And what I did in here is I first started with a crystallizer. Let me turn this off. This crystallizer set to pitch of 17 cents. And I've played with the splice in here. By the way, it's not MIDI sync. And I chose a delay time that sounded right for my ears. And a little bit of recycling, basically some feedback, and everything is on reverse. So we have this. Then I've added a phaser in here. I've set the algorithm to classic 12, and there's just a simple sine modulator set to 2 bars modulating the cutoff frequency or the phaser frequency. Now we have this. Pretty cool. Then I've added a filter in here, and this is the Filter Freak, the big one with the double filters. Both of them are on bandpass. One is 12 decibels per octave, the other is 4 decibels per octaves, and both of them are set to parallel mode, and they're being modulated by a sine LFO set to a rate of 28 Hz. And we have this. And everything goes to a ping pong delay set to 1 1/8 dotted. Really nothing too special on here, the classic stuff. from Echo Boy for sure, and we have this. So now we got our main kind of like dark idea, and we've added kind of like a top end layer, if that makes sense. And now we have this. Now, what I like to do is to add a third atmosphere. This atmosphere, I like to call it a driving atmosphere. This atmosphere is kind of like a lead. It has like a rhythm to it. It'll make you dance instead of just like, lose yourself in your thoughts, if that makes sense. And for this, I've actually created this sample in Tile Sampler, actually, and it sounds like this. So what I did in here is I've limited the frequency range of the sample with this equalizer in here, and I've added a fast delay, 1/8, single echo, really nothing too special, with some feedback. So with everything, now we have this. And if you listen to it, you still feel that there is something missing, especially in, the mids, a little bit, lower mids. And for that, I've actually created a preset in Serum that kind of sounds like a virus. It sounds like this. But I've wanted to make it more interesting, so I've added a layer of EFX fragments from Arturia in here. So what I did is I've modulated the size in here with this function generator with kind of like a triangle wave. And with this second function generator, I've modulated the grain volume, so it'll give us a kind of like an LFO on the amp feeling, the sound going backward and forward, backward and forward. And I've played a little bit with some reverb, some delay, and now we have this. And I've limited the frequency range of this atmosphere with this equalizer in here. There's a lot of low end going on, so yeah, I took them off, and some of the high end. And with everything, we have this. Okay, now we have all of our elements, but we can't just let them play like that. We need to sequence them somehow. But before that, we need kind of like a rhythmic element in order to sequence them correctly. And that leads us to step number 2, the rhythmic element. Now for that, it's really simple. We will just go with a simple kick and bass sweep. Nothing works better than the good old tricks. So for that, we have our kick and bass in here. I'll just duplicate them and start them right from the beginning, like so. Now we have this. And what I'll do, I'll load an instance of Waze Meta Filter, but you can use whatever filter you like. I'll set Meta Filter to high pass, just like so, and I'll start automating the cutoff. Pretty cool. Now let's play a little bit with the resonance to make it more interesting. Pretty cool. And what I'll do is I'll take the last bar of the kick and bass, and the cutoff, I will make it stop somewhere in here. We don't need all of that low end rumble. Now let's go back to our atmospheres and let's sequence them. So the main atmosphere, I will just leave it the way it is because it's our main mood basically. Now the second top layer of it, I'm going to introduce it slowly, just like so. Like, I don't want you to hear directly what's going on, so let's do something like this. And the virus-like sound, also I'm going to give it just a tiny fade in. And this driving atmosphere in here, what I'll do is I'll start it somewhere in the middle and I'll make it fade in. So now we have something that sounds like this. Pretty cool. Never forget to turn off the filter when the main kick and bass starts. So let's automate that. Just like so. Now we have this. Perfect. Now what I'll do, since the virus-like atmosphere is our main kind of like mid-range atmosphere, I'll just duplicate it in the main part in here. And since our tal atmosphere is the main driving one, I'll also duplicate it. I already have a duplicated version of it. And since this one is our main mood, I'll also duplicate it. And I'll just leave the sample of me walking in here. So now we basically have this. Now, to give this intro a little bit more impact, what I'll do is the virus-like atmosphere and the main one, I'm going to stop them from playing with the kick and bass, just like so. But this one, since it's a WAV file, I'm going to fade it out, just like so. And the sample of me walking will also fade out, just like so. So now, check how the intro will get way more power just because we left this space empty, basically. Pretty cool, right? But we need to give it a little more impact, and this will lead us to step number 3. Now, step number 3 is adding simple drums just to give more impact to all of these elements. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is a little impact in the intro, just like to give it some sort of a starting point, if that makes sense. Now, this impact I've actually created myself in here. I've added an E-clap device and an E-kick device, and both of them created this. And this impact basically went to a Valhalla vintage verb, and it created this. And this is a really simple way of creating your own perfectly unique impacts. And I've used this impact right in the beginning, so now we have this. Pretty cool. And what we need in here is just a reversed crash. Now the reverse crash, you can put it in either right before the kick starts in here, but you don't put it right behind the kick. You leave a little space. This will add a lot of impact. And now we have a result that sounds like this. Or we can put the reverse crash right in here when the kick and bass will stop sweeping, and we will get a result that sounds like this. Now, just because we have this driving atmosphere in here that has a really nice rhythmic element to it, check this out. It kind of like gives back the energy to the track. I'm going to leave the reverse crash to end with this kick and bass sweeping. So now the whole intro will sound like this. Okay, perfect. And with this is the end of this tutorial. I really hope you've liked it. I really hope you've learned something new. See you next time.